Story time about how I did the you-know-what with my celebrity crushes. I'm from a really small town in the Midwest. Growing up, I knew I wanted to go to LA and be famous. As soon as I turned 20, I decided to move to LA. Showed up to LA with $400 and a dream. My dream was to meet all of my celebrity crushes. I happened to be tall and pretty good looking, so I got myself a modeling agency. A few weeks after I got to LA, I booked my first job. I got to model for a runway show. From there, I met a stylist who introduced me to a bunch of people. And from that, I was able to start going to a bunch of industry parties. I met tons of celebrities, influencers, and basically socialites. I even met Kim Kardashian at a party 4 years ago. When I would go to these parties, I would tell people that I was a model. But in order to prove that, I had to have a pretty big following on Instagram. So I took all of my savings that I had, and I bought myself 100,000 followers on Instagram. With those 100,000 followers, I was able to get verified. And after that, I started DMing as many celebrities as I could, especially my celebrity crushes. And no, I won't say who they are. After a few weeks, I still didn't have the responses that I wanted, aka from my celebrity crushes, but I started getting some responses from other celebrities. Not as famous or good looking, but still people that could definitely help me get to them. Basically, my life consisted of going to castings, go-sees, and going to photo shoots. I also started doing music videos, and this is when it really got interesting. I started meeting tons of rappers and started getting invited to bigger and bigger parties. Like, really exclusive parties. The kind where you couldn't take your phone in, and the kind where you had to sign an NDA to make sure that you couldn't say anything about what you saw at the party. My Instagram was also growing really quickly. I went from 100,000 followers to 150,000 within a few months. I even became really good friends with some celebrities that worked on TV shows, like the kind of TV shows that you guys see on Netflix. I felt like I was getting closer and closer to my dream, but still, I never met my celebrity crushes at any of those parties. One morning, I wake up to a few DMs on my Instagram, and it was one of my celebrity crushes. I basically sent him a message just saying, "Hey, I'm in town, I'd love to take you out for a drink." And he replied with a yes. Nothing else, just a yes. I quickly replied and asked him if he wanted to go for a drink that night. He agreed to meeting up at a bar on Sunset Boulevard. I want you guys to understand something though. I was looking for a boyfriend, not just a one night, So I wore my cutest outfit, nothing sexy. I basically looked like a Chanel model from the 1950s. As soon as he saw me, he told me that I was beautiful and we got to talking. Everything was going really, really great. After that, you know what happened. But here's the thing. I messaged him on Instagram the next day and he didn't reply. He didn't even ask me for my phone number. I got really sad, but the next day I opened up my DMs to another celebrity crush. Now, I didn't think this one would respond because he was in a relationship at the time. No, I'm not going to say who it is. He was super nice over DM and asked me if I wanted to go have lunch. I said yes, of course. We decided to have lunch on the weekend. Throughout the week, he would message me and ask me how I was, but 2 days before the meeting, he totally ghosted me. I didn't hear back from him at all. So the day before the date, I texted him. He finally replied and told me that he had been working. We decided to have dinner and he started asking me tons of questions, like if I had a boyfriend, and I told him I was totally single. When I asked him if he had a girlfriend, he stayed quiet. He said he didn't want to answer that question. Of course I knew he had a girlfriend because it was all over the tabloids. Like there were tons of paparazzi pictures of them together. But here's the thing. We had a fancy dinner. Then he asked me if I want to go back to his place. Of course I said yes. And when I get there, I see pictures of him with his girlfriend, the one he didn't want to talk about before. I then go to the bathroom, open the cabinets, and it's full of girl stuff. I quickly realized that he took me to his girlfriend's place to you know what. I mean, maybe they had an open relationship, but at the same time, like, why would he take me to his girlfriend's place? But I kept my goal in mind. We finally, you know what, and then afterward he asked me if I wanted to sleep over. That's when I told him no because I knew that we were in his girlfriend's place. He starts laughing and tells me that she's out of town and that she'll never find out that he took me there. I asked him how many girls he's taken there before, and once again he said he didn't want to answer the question. He then hit me up every single day for like a month. I didn't know if I should see him again because of the whole girlfriend thing, but then I got another DM. No, I'm not going to say who it was, but he's pretty famous. He actually invited me over to his place for dinner. He ordered some takeout and we watched a movie. We finally got down to it, to you know what, and it was really bad. And the worst part is, afterward he asked me if it was good. Of course I lied and said yes, it was great. The look of relief on his face was apparent. How could it be so insecure being so famous and so attractive? I didn't get it. I actually did go out with him 2 more times, but I kind of got bored of him. Remember the second celebrity I told you about in part 2? He started getting really crazy. He would call me and text me all the time, and when I wouldn't answer, he would send me messages asking where I was. He became super jealous and controlling. I decided to block him, but I'm now considering if I should maybe unblock him, because the other celebrities I DM'd haven't DM'd me back. But I have a whole new list of celebrities I'm going to be DMing. Should I text number 2 back?
Disclaimer, I am a lesbian woman. About 3 years ago, I met a married couple and fell in love with the woman almost immediately. We were all buddies, and I made it clear that she had no idea how I felt. Her marriage, however, began to break apart in a short period of time after she discovered her husband had cheated on her. When I told her how I felt, she couldn't believe it because it was exactly how she'd been feeling about me. I was taken aback, but I was also relieved because I had just revealed my feelings. I wasn't sure if it was considered cheating or not. Following that, for about 2 years, we were always chatting, messaging, and visiting each other as much as we could, which was difficult because she lived a huge distance away. She was always telling me about how much she loved me and wanted us to be together for almost 2 years while still living with her husband. She simply needed time to go. They had children, and she was scared of how a divorce would affect them. I said that was okay. But it had been more than 2 years, and I needed to move on. This feeling irritated me, and we could now see that we were being cheated. I cut her off totally, and she began contacting some of my friends, pleading with them to persuade me to talk to her. She said she needed me so much, and my friends kept talking to me about her. When she told me she was officially done with her husband and even showed up at my house with flowers, I folded, and I guessed my feelings for her hadn't changed at all. I still loved her like I used to. We spent a lot of time together for nearly 6 months. I tried my best to take care of her and gave her a shoulder to cry on when she said she remembered her kids. But this man had made her life fall apart. It was a long night, but the next morning she went right back to him. Same talk if she wanted to work on the marriage for the kids. She called me crying a lot, saying she wished things were different. I felt like I had been betrayed by her. I felt terrible. But when I heard her crying, I felt weak again and didn't say anything. She informed me one day that she was taking her new beautiful BMW to visit her parents and that she was taking the kids with her because she wanted some time away from her husband. I called her because she sounded extremely distressed. More wailing about how she feels stuck in the marriage and how she's sorry but she can't abandon her children. I hung up after calming her down and noticed that I had received a text message from her spouse. "Did she tell you about Jackie?" it said. I had no idea what he was talking about, so obviously not. He invited me for a coffee. I felt like this was about to come when a husband found out his wife was having an affair and tried to beat me. But what was Jackie? I didn't know what that meant, so I accepted the invitation. At the coffee shop, I was super nervous, ready for a huge apology for him. But he also cheated with another woman, so I didn't feel that bad. He got right to the point and said he was with her at her parents' house. Well, he saw she was on the phone with me with her fake cry, and that this was just one of the lies she had been telling me. Even though she had stated that she was no longer interested, she had been telling him that I couldn't seem to let go. Then he went on to say, "She was screwing Jackie on her couch when I got home a few days ago. She didn't tell you about her new girlfriend, I presume." And he had proof in the form of photographs. He was also being ejected from the house since she had moved in with this new female. So Jackie was her new girl, and we were all used to her joy and greed. She wasted so much of my time playing me, only to seem to have zero problems leaving her husband for this new girl. And he also claimed he didn't cheat on her. That was his client, and they were talking about their partnership project, but she saw it and went all crazy. He also revealed that they were not having any kids since she didn't like children and she wanted to be free. Being desperate and miserable, I also felt mad because of what that woman had done with both of us. I knew I was mean, but she deserved it. Her husband also officially divorced her, and we became best friends after all. We all have been used by this woman, so we needed to get out of this situation as soon as possible. Don't let love blind you. At least be awake because you can be taken advantage of some days.
Am I the asshole for causing drama during an important football game? Last weekend, I, female 27, ended feeling a wee bit poorly with what turned out to be appendicitis. We were away for the weekend with my partner, male 39, so I had surgery at a hospital 3 to 4 hours away from home. I had a small complication during surgery, so I had to stay until Wednesday, yesterday. But my partner returned to work on Monday, but he came back to pick me up. The timing was bad because there was an important football game yesterday, and it was really important for my partner to watch it. I am not English, so I don't quite get the importance, but it's a big deal for him. I wanted to make sure he'd see the game. I suggested booking a room near the hospital so we wouldn't miss it due to the drive, but he wanted to see the game at a friend's place. He said he'd make it. While we were waiting to get me discharged, he was getting agitated because it was taking so long. He had to wait outside, so he was in the car the whole time because of restrictions at the hospital. After a couple of hours, he sent me a text that he had to leave or he'd miss the game. I begged him not to leave and reminded I could book a hotel, but he left without me and luckily made it on time to see the start of the game. He said he'd come pick me up tomorrow instead. The hospital wouldn't let me stay over another night or leave alone. Luckily, one of my friends came to get me in the end. She didn't get to the hospital until late, and we got back to London around 2 a.m. The whole time I was trying to call and text my partner, but he only said we could talk about it today. The whole evening I was texting and calling my partner, ever since the moment he left me at the hospital. He only sent me one "what's up" back.
You know, living in Merca, because school shootings happen so often, we have to have practice drills, such as a lockdown drill. And I used to teach 5th grade, and one of them was that the lockdown drill was that as soon as you heard like a phrase over the intercom, it would be something that the intruder wouldn't recognize, but we as the teachers would know was a clue. We would have to do the lockdown. So basically you lock the door and then the kids go to a corner of the room. So if anybody was to look into the little door window, they wouldn't see anybody, and you turn off the lights. And of course you have to keep the kids really, really quiet. So we've practiced this several times. It's hard to keep the kids quiet, but it's a drill. So one day it actually happened, and I heard over the intercom, I don't know, one of the clues, I forgot what it was, and it hit me. I was like, wait, what are they saying? I'm like, oh my God, and it hit me. So I told my students, guys, this is not a drill. We have to be very safe right now. Went to lock the door, closed the lights, and had them huddle in a corner, okay? Now my classroom is on the 3rd floor. It's 2 buildings. Our building was the upper elementary. The building that's connected to it was the lower elementary. So basically they're huddled in the corner, and I'm sitting there huddled with them, of course, and they're terrified, but I'm trying to remain calm because I don't want to terrify them. So I messaged the secretary and I was like, is this true? Is this really a lockdown right now? I mean, what's going on? And she goes, why are you using your phone? You're going to get in big trouble for that. And I go, I know, I just need to know. And she's like, yes, this is true. Please stick to the lockdown. And she couldn't say anything more than that. So the whole time I'm trying to keep my kids quiet. And I was like, please guys, we have to stay calm. And then so many of them were worried and freaking out. I'm like, don't worry about it. I will keep you safe. I promise. And one of my boy students was like, Miss, if anything happens, I'm going to protect you. And I was just, at that moment, I swear, I wanted to cry. And I'm like, no. I go, please don't do anything, okay? It's my job to protect you. So while trying to remain calm, I kept looking around the room to see places that I would hide them, like my closet, which was very small. I'm like, I don't care. I'll stuff them all in there. Or even in little cabinets, I'm like, I'll stuff their bodies in there. Or I'll throw the seats down and have them hide behind it. And I'll throw myself over the intruder to protect them. Anything, you know? Anyways, it seemed like ages, but it was almost like an hour and a half that we were waiting. And finally, we got the okay signal. So when it was finally dismissal time, you know, all my kids were anxious. We're going down the stairs and we see all these holes in the drywall leading to where dismissal was, and with blood inside the holes. My kids, of course, were freaking out, and I tried to calm them down. I'm like, it's okay, until they got home. Later, I find out that it was this psychopath. His fiance, who was a 1st grade teacher in the other building, was cheating on him, and he decided to confront her then. And as he was walking into the building, he was punching holes in the wall because he was so mad. And she even had her classroom of little 1st grade students when he walked in there and confronted her, being loud and yelling, and it was just awful. Can you imagine the trauma those little kids felt? So the cops came, they got him and everything. Thank God it wasn't anything worse than that, but still, it was a terrifying experience.